So 77 athletes from 47 countries out there. In fact, 46 countries with that withdrawal. There's Rosemary Wanjiru. Only her third marathon, but her two so far, the Kenyan, have been super fast. 2:18 and 2:16. She won Tokyo back in March. Lona Chemtai Salpeta, former Kenyan, now very much an Israeli. She's the reigning bronze medalist from Eugene last year. Great track performer too. She really will be a threat to her former compatriots, the Kenyans. Nora Szabo, well, she's the national record holder for the Hungarians. 2:28 she ran in Seville back in February, and boy, oh boy, will she get support from the big crowds on the course. Gotitom Gebrselassie, she is the defending champion, stormed to gold over the last 2 kilometers, 2 years last year in Eugene. She's the championship record holder as well, and very consistent. And Rose Chalemo of Bahrain, former Kenyan herself, world champion in London 2017, took the silver the following year in Doha. Well, the race about to get underway. And championship races, of course, as Sonia alluded to earlier, very, very different to paced commercial races that we see around the world. So away they go then, 42.2 kilometers around the streets of this rather spectacular city, and I'm sure that the crowds will grow and grow as the race wears on. Certainly they've got to get into a rhythm through this first 2-kilometer loop just to get it out of the way, and then they'll head out onto the first of those big 4 10-kilometer loops. But what would your thinking be now if you were sort of sitting in there in that pack?
Yeah, this is interesting. I mean, some athletes will go into the zone and they'll have a plan and they'll be trying to stick to a pace, whereas others will be looking around and thinking of it as a race and who they need to watch out for. But I think in these early stages, much of the main contenders, they won't be trying to do too much work right now, just getting a feel for what it feels like out there, just getting a feel for this is the early part of each lap and then the latter part of each lap, picking out little points where they may make a move later on in the race.
Sonia, you were a great world champion on the track and on the country, and an Olympic medalist as well. You turned to the marathon a little late in your career. Do you used to get the pangs? You wish you were out there in the thick of this now? Because this is life on the edge, isn't it, when you're competing in a world championship in what is the Everest of road running? Absolutely,
yeah. No, I always wanted to run in a championship marathon, but it never really worked out for me. I think by the time I got there, I had run so much on the track that I didn't prepare properly for the marathon. I think
there is Rika Kaseda, one of the Japanese trio, very strong trio. It's only her 3rd marathon. Runs for one of the big commercial teams, a car company back in Japan, the 24-year-old. Best of 2:21. That was last year. She was 7th in Berlin last year as well. Has quite long strides considering her stature. And apparently affectionately called in Japan Capybara-chan on Japanese TV, and you can be sure that an awful lot of folk in their many millions will be watching this back in Japan, where marathon running, the qualities of marathon running, toughness and determination, grit will be very much admired.
Yeah, she's the fastest in...
So Kaseda, well, I'm not sure what the thinking is here. Obviously, the early pace will be relatively slow. We're expecting it to be relatively slow. And you can see Szabo there, actually, towards the front of the pack as well. The Hungarian champion, or record holder, she is obviously Sonia, I think, wanting to make sure she gets a little bit of support in the early stage. The chances of her placing highly, relatively remote, with all due respect.
Yeah, I mean, she'll be getting a lot of support out on the course, Szabo will be, and that will probably get her a little bit, I suppose the adrenaline at the start of the race will get her out there, and you can see there's a number of supporters running alongside, so they're probably not going at a very fast pace right now.
Well, they're on dead straight.
So yeah,
Grassi Avenue at the moment. Rosemary Wanjiru is very much amongst the favourites. As mentioned, her personal best, 2:16.28. Based in Japan, she won Tokyo back in March, one of the world marathon majors. Was 6 big marathons that have grouped together and become really the pinnacle of the world of commercial marathon racing. Tough little corner, this one, Sonia, but it's the only time they'll have to negotiate it, or a corner that tight.
Very tight. They've reduced to walking pace, which it is part of the race walk course to do this first 2-kilometre loop. But I think at this early stage of the race, it's not going to cause them any issues. But interesting that Szabo is taking out the lead here. She's going to get a bit of support on the course here. She wants to be seen.
You can see the half marathon marker, by the way. Now, they'll obviously be passing that in about an hour's time, just over an hour's time. And we will be giving you splits throughout the race. But yeah, I mean, what's the thinking? I suppose the Hungarians, if they've been training in these sort of conditions for the last few weeks, they might be better acclimatized than most.
Well, you would think that she's been at home and running around in these conditions. So she's got nothing to lose to go out here, run with Caseda, who... You know, Japanese runners would also spend a lot of time running in these humid conditions, as it can be like that in the summertime in Japan.
So now, as they pass the finish line, which they'll all be reaching in, I don't know, 2.5 hours time, they head out on the first of the 10-kilometre loops. It's a long, straight stretch down towards the city and the river, the Danube River, over the river bridge, over the chain bridge, into Buda, through a tunnel, a loop over there, which undulates and twists and turns a little bit. I think it's kind of a course of 2 halves, because this is dead flat and dead straight now for quite a few kilometres. And then they get over to the other side, negotiate that loop, come back over the bridge, and come back here to Hero Square on the long, straight stretch of Andrassy Avenue. Once again, there's a very straightforward loop, 10K loop on the face of it, but it will become more and more challenging, particularly later in the race. Sullivan there to left of picture. That's Susanna Sullivan of the USA in her 11th marathon. 2:24 performer is Susanna Sullivan. Now, she has made incredible progress. At the Olympic trials in Atlanta back in 2020, she was 150th in 2 hours 46 minutes. This year, she was 10th in the London Marathon in her personal best of 2:24, and earned selection for this race.
So I think a lot of these athletes, they are eagerly anticipating this drink station right now, and it may be what we were saying yesterday when we were out on this Andrassy Avenue, that you can see what you're getting to. It appears closer than it is. And here we are passing the Opera House, and the opera singers are outside. This will be something to look forward to every time we come past here.
Well, that's a first. Opera. Wonderful. I mean, it's one thing to run past the Hungarian State Opera House. Opened in 1884, renovated in 1980 to 84. And I don't think I've ever heard that in a career that's... I've covered a few hundred marathons in my time. Now, this is smart running. Wanjiru moving to the form, making absolutely sure she gets her personal drinks. For those of you who are not quite as initiated as others into the practices of elite marathon racing, these athletes will all have handed in 8 bottles last night containing a drink mixture of their own making. That is refrigerated overnight and then put out along the course, 1 bottle at every 5K drink station. And the mix that they make up changes according to the stage of the race. So later in the race, Sonia, it might be a slightly different mix to the mixture in the early. Now, did you do that when you ran your marathons?
I attempted to do it, but I wasn't very good at drinking and running at the same time. But I know now a lot of these athletes, they practice this when they're training, and they do have different concentrations of drinks as the race goes along. Also, it looks like they've got these massive big sponges that they're giving early on, and a lot of the athletes are taking advantage of picking up the sponges and just watering themselves down. You would hope that that is quite cold water in the sponges, so they're cooling themselves already at this stage, so you can tell how hot it is on the course. It seems to be that they get into a more steady pace, and it really is a bit of an up and down pace still. You can see that they've picked it up again here now, and it does seem to be the adrenaline, I think, when you come past big crowds cheering, when you go through the Hero Square. And the main pack here at the front now has split again, but every time this has happened, it's regrouped again as we get down towards the Buda part of town, where they go over the bridge and everybody regroups and gets back in together again.
Well, the news is that the 22nd kilometre was a 3:12. That is quick. That is one of the quickest kilometres of the race, if not the quickest kilometre of the race. So it's almost as though they had a slingshot effect coming out of Heroes Square for the third time. Remember, they did one small loop early on, and then now they've completed 2 big loops. And we are into slightly more serious racing mode, you sense it, in this Women's World Championship Marathon race of 2023. Budapest, the most majestic backdrop for this field, but the pack is thinning out. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 in that lead pack, moving away. The Japanese have had to let go, trying to see which one of those it is in 13th place there in isolation between the 2 packs. I think it's Matsuda, who had a stumble about 10 or 15 minutes ago, but there is some more serious racing going on now. And Salpeta still very much to the fore there, holding up the European end, so to speak, for Israel as well. And they are moving well and getting into a better rhythm. Cheptegei towards the back there. I think she just stumbled in that yellow Ugandan vest. Maybe she was clipped from behind. It is Matsuda, who seems to have regained contact with the group. There's Caseda in this chasing group. Wodak and Eris, and D'Amato is there. D'Amato hasn't gone with a surge from the lead pack. Maybe the pace was just too quick from them. Mark Coogan, I don't know if you're able to see Akira D'Amato better than us, but does she look stressed?
She's definitely been separated from the lead pack. There's a second group about maybe 10 or 15 meters back. They're not really too far back. And once again, like, the acceleration came when we came out of Hero Square, and there was a water station, and everybody grabbed sponges and waters. And one thing that was really unique that I saw, the Ethiopians all shared one water bottle and sponges and passing them back and forth. So they're running together and trying to help each other. And I don't know, it seems like the Kenyans might be doing that, but I don't know if the Americans and some of the other people are working as a team.
Well, I don't know if anybody's working as a team. The Ethiopians obviously helping each other a little bit. The Kenyans, maybe not so much. Salpeta separating Kaptic and Wanjiru there. Just trying to see the third Kenyan. Yeah, she's tucked her over the back, isn't she?
But it does look like the second pack is rejoining again here now. So, again, it has been the case of the pace picking up, going through the water stations, and now settling back down again.
Yeah, it's a good point, Sonia. It's kind of obvious, I suppose. Now I should have picked up on it. You're dead right. The surging from the water stations is creating this sort of seesawing effect. Cheptegei there had another little stumble. She's just got to watch herself in that yellow Ugandan vest. She's looking down intensely at the heels of Kaptic in front of her. The other Kenyan who is in there is Jep Korea, the winner of the Enschede Marathon back in April this year. There she is over on the far side. Her full name is Shailene Jepkoret Toroitic, although our stats lists have only got Jep Korea as her surname. It's her first big marathon, this, really. She's right up against the railings, sort of fourth from left behind that Ethiopian vest. She's raced her marathon so far in Eldoret, in Ravenna, Eldoret again, Nairobi, and then Enschede last April. That was her first reasonable-sized marathon. The BIS is her first major championship marathon. She's never come anywhere near running one of the world marathon majors or anything like that. Jep Korea, and she's a 2:22 performer. Wow.
For me, the most comfortable-looking athlete is Yelmazar Yahula. She's looking at her watch, but she looks to be very calm. She hasn't taken the lead at all, and she's always been in the middle of the pack. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Tour de France racing, where the one athlete is being protected by the others.
Well, Gebrselassie, the defending champion, the reigning champion, left a picture, making a move there through against the railings, past Salpeta into the lead. Now, 1 hour 24 on the clock. We've got probably an hour of running to come, something like that. 1:21 exactly at 23 kilometers. That was a 3:18.
And even now, Gebrselassie is looking over her shoulder a little bit, that she's getting a bit worried how close behind is Salpeter, but there is quite a big gap there. And as they're coming just out of the Basilica dog-leg turn down the avenue towards the bridge, there's still a good 24 minutes of running to go here, I would think.
You can see extreme top right of picture, the gap back to the chasing pair, Salpeter and Wanjiru. Salpeter chasing hard. That white vest, is that closing a little bit? She is a fabulous racer. Lorna Salpeter of Ethiopia. They negotiate that light bulb turn, as we call them in road racing terms, and the reason for that is obvious. And now Salpeter takes this turn as well. Wanjiru still running strongly, and Gadadi of Morocco hanging in there. So the three Ethiopians away. Salpeter fourth, Wanjiru fifth, Gadadi of Morocco sixth. And is this another of the Kenyans moving around that corner back in seventh place? That is Kaptich. But these three, I wonder when the friendliness drops. 25k they've just gone through. 35k, excuse me. And the split at 35k, just outside 2 hours. 2 hours and 35 seconds. And that was another 3:12. They are metronomically shifting down the streets, these very, very flat streets of Budapest at 3:12 tempo. Now that is 2:16.30 pace if they were to maintain it the whole distance. Now I don't think we're going to see a sub 2:30 clocking here, and we may see some real big moves being made over in Buda, where there are twists and turns and rises and climbs and tunnels and bridges. Who knows? But this is nice running underfoot, not quite such nice running temperature-wise. It's 27 degrees, I think, out there now. Mark Coogan, have you sensed any climbing of the temperature on the bike?
Oh, definitely. I'm sweating bullets out here. There's no air conditioning out here, Tim, right now. We'll be in the tunnel in a few minutes, and I'm hoping for a little bit of a reprieve. But the three Ethiopians, they all look strong, they look fit, they look relaxed. I cannot pick who's going to come out of this group of three.
Yahualo looking very, very strong and confident, and oozing a calmness here. The London Marathon winner last year. All three of her marathons to date have been under 2:20. That is a unique level of high performance. She won Hamburg last year in 2:17.23. She fell at the London Marathon last year and still won the race. How about that for tough? Now, Gebrselassie, her course record pace is 3:16 per kilometre, 2:18.11. The current pace averages out at 3:26 per kilometre. That would bring them home in 2:25. But we know that they're going a lot quicker than that. We know they're moving at 3:12 per kilometre. We'll have a look at an updated version of that. But I think they're going to finish down in the 2:24 area. Unless, Sonia, they start watching each other over this next remaining 7k or so.
Well, but they each have had a look over their shoulder to see if there's anyone behind. And by doing that, then they may just slow a little bit. But I have a feeling Yahula, she really looks like she's looking at her watch a lot. Shankule, the same. I mean, they look at them every 2 seconds. I'm not sure that they're looking at the pace, but they need to look at it clearly before they go into the tunnel, because they may lose a little bit of the GPS in there as they approach the bridge here. And Gebrselassie again looks like she's dropping off a little bit, and that would give a little bit of hope to the chasers behind Salpeter and Wanjiru is with her also, I think, yeah.
So the final time, then they make the climb on the chain bridge, heading westwards, excuse me, and towards Buda. And look at this from Shankule. Wow, she's really attacking strongly here, and it's taking its effect. The reigning champion is struggling, back in third place. Goitatom Gebrselassie, the defending champion. She has such pedigree. 3 marathons in 2022. She was third in Tokyo in March last year. She went and won in spectacular fashion in Eugene last year. And then she took a third great run in New York in the autumn last year. And then she ran Boston this year, did Gebrselassie finishing in 10th place. But this from Shankule is fantastic. It's her 11th marathon. She's got plenty of experience. She was second in Boston this year, the Boston Marathon, the point-to-point downhill, toughest of tough courses. She ran 2:21.50, finishing second to Helen Obiri of Kenya. Obiri producing a masterclass of marathon racing on the streets of Boston. And these gaps are now significant. This is an early attack. Do you think maybe she's gone a bit too early, Mark Coogan?
I actually kept looking at her watch over and over again. I don't know if she had a point where she wanted to really push the pace. And it looked to me as like at the bottom of the bridge, because it's a little bit uphill, and she really accelerated up the hill, and that got rid of her two teammates.
Well,
I'll try to get how much far behind she is now.
Well, the gap's, what, about 4 seconds, something like that? But this is a really determined effort, and that tells you a lot, doesn't it, Sonia? When you glance over your shoulder, see what sort of damage you're doing.
But this is one of the most difficult parts of the course. I mean, it's a gradual uphill, but on the fourth lap of the race, this is where you really will feel the hill. But Shankule, she's put in a big break, but she's looking over her shoulder, and I think she may have gone a little bit early. I don't think this race is over yet. I think there's still a long way to go. When we come back around out of the tunnel, there's a bit of a downhill. She looks like she's working hard, and still with 20 minutes of running to go.
Well, the mouth is wide open, sucking in as much oxygen and slightly cooler air in the Castle Hill tunnel. And another glance over her shoulder. Now, there's an advantage to that and a disadvantage. The advantage is you're getting the information you're looking for. You can see what's happening behind, and you can feed that into the computer. The disadvantage is your compatriots behind, chasing hard and running well, are able to see that you're a little bit worried. You're a little bit concerned, and they take a reinforcement from that. There is the view for Salpeter, glancing up the road. Gardadi and she working together. Gardadi has actually caught her in the last few minutes. This is a brilliant run from Gardadi of Morocco. She's fourth in the world at the moment. Salpeter in 5th, behind this trio of Ethiopians. They've turned left out of the tunnel, and those gaps have opened up very quickly. That was a vicious attack, Sonia, on the bridge from Shankule. I know you think she's gone a little bit too early, but normally athletes of this caliber can judge it right.
Yeah, I mean, she definitely, it seems like she had a plan to go at that point in the race. And, you know, now she looks okay again. Now that she's got over that hill and coming down the downhill, she looks a bit more relaxed, and she can probably take a bit of a break here. But I think Yahula still looks strong behind. Gebrselassie, I think she has a more concerned look on her face about what's coming from behind her. But Shankule here now, she really just has to focus on the road ahead, and you know, it will be interesting. I think if she continues to look behind her, then we'll know that she is a little bit worried and not as confident as she was when she made that breakaway.
Mind you, having said that, Yahurlo had a glance over her shoulder, just said the athlete in 2nd place. Here's Gebrselassie, the defending champion, and there are the gaps. Look, Shankule leads by 6 seconds. Yahurlo chasing hard on this slight downhill section over in Buda, the smaller section of the course to the west of the Danube. Gebrselassie in 3rd place, the defending champion. She's a further 8 seconds back and maybe just struggling here. She might, if we see her look over her shoulder, then maybe the writing will be on the wall that her title has gone. It could be already, because Shankule is running incredibly strongly. Gebrselassie now 20 seconds behind at 40K. Actually, just looking, it's 24 seconds.
And Yahula is still pushing on here. She's getting the company of one of her Ethiopian teammates on the outside the barrier there, helping her along, but he's going to drop off now as well. It's interesting to see all these people running alongside, and I'm sure this is you know, encouraging for the athletes to have company out there in these final kilometers.
Well, here is Yahualo in 3rd place. She is suffering. Shankule moving better. Just maybe the adrenaline is beginning to flow now. She's on the dead straight section of Andrassy Avenue. The crowd's roaring her on. She will be well aware. She's had a couple of glances over her shoulder. She will be well aware of that gap behind her being a pretty safe cushion. At 40K, it was 24 seconds back to the 2022 world champion, Gotitom Gebreselassie. Yahualo, a further 19 seconds back. She is suffering. Gardadi, though, at 40K, was 20 seconds behind Yahualo. So it may be that the gaps now will not change. I think there'd have to be a dramatic slowing or else a very, very impressive acceleration for the medal positions to change. It could end up being a 1-2-3 for Ethiopia. And I'm trying to think if that's been achieved before at a World Championship. I don't think it has, Sonia. We're all rushing for our stats pages.
I don't think in the women's race it has, but I'm sure someone will let us know soon if it has. But the gaps, I mean, they're definitely closing between Gardadi and Yahula. And I think, it definitely will have to be a dramatic slowdown and a steady pace by Gardadi for her to be able to catch up to Yahula at this stage. To gain 20 seconds over 2 kilometers is a huge task.
Well, let's take a look at this, and the gap is closing dramatically between Yahualo and Gardadi, the Moroccan, surging here. Yahualo, look at this, flailing arms. She's gone. She's gone. She is going to be passed, and Morocco are going to move into third place through the figure of Gardadi. Incredible running there from the little Moroccan. Wow. Fatima Ezara Gardadi moves into third place. The dream for Ethiopia of 1-2-3 dissipates almost within sight of the finish in Heroes Square. And Yahualo, well, she looks over. There were flailing arms a minute or two ago. I thought she was going to collapse or stop. She's jogging on there, right of picture. But she has run herself into the ground. The surge that, ironically, was at about this point heading out in the other direction on Andrassy Avenue that broke up the field has broken her. And Salpeta, you can see top of picture, is moving into fourth place. She's going to pass Yahualo any second, and then there will still be a battle for bronze. You can see the champion to be surely in the foreground. Amane Beriso Shankule will retain gold by the looks of things for Ethiopia. Barring disaster, this has been a quite brilliant closing 8 kilometers or so from her. Checks her watch again. Just don't know why she's checking her watch all the time. That misting spray that they're running through doesn't really look like it's doing much good. They're far too high in the sky, and the mist is actually landing back on the pavement behind the railings, I think. Looks great. Gebreselassie in second place, has a target, but she's going to run out of road, and I'm not sure she's closing anyway, Sonia.
Yeah, I think Shankule, she's got a large enough lead at this stage. She can see the Heroes square ahead of her, and Gardadi now has her eyes focused on Gebreselassie. But, you know, when she passed Yahula, these are the scenes that we're going to see later in this race, I think, when athletes, they just totally run out of energy, and it's something that they can't control because the conditions just take such an effect on them at this late stage in the race. And Gardadi, now she's still looking at her watch, and I'm not sure if she may be, no, she's too far to catch up to silver, but she's eyeing the finish line as well and working hard. And even right now, Shankule is feeling it, and she's concentrating. I think the work she put in early has got her to this point, but now it's survival mode to just get to that finish line and maintain her lead.
Well, the lead is 24 seconds between the leader, Shankule, and her compatriot, the 2022 champion, Gebreselassie. It's a huge gap back to Gardadi of Morocco, who is in third place, looks to have secured third for herself. Here is the form of Gebreselassie. The adrenaline pumping through all their veins. That's why they're bouncing a little bit better. They know they've got one hand on a medal, each of them. Shankule, the arms beginning to flail a little bit from side to side, but what a glorious sight for her. A slight right hand lean there before heading onto the orange carpet of Heroes Square. 300 meters to run then for Shankule to retain gold for Ethiopia. The greatest race of her life. by a massive margin, and she leads by a big margin too. The gap at 42 kilometers, some 24 seconds, as she negotiates this long sweeping left-hand turn. The crowds roar her on, the banners held aloft. One final little check over her shoulder. She cannot believe she's going to be crowned world champion in a few seconds' time. And considering how quickly they've run through this second half, she's in fabulous shape. The first half was slow. The second half has been lightning quick, considering the temperature has climbed now to something very close to 30 degrees centigrade. Ethiopia will retain gold in the women's marathon in Budapest 2023. Sebastian Coe to the left there, holding the finish banner for this marvelous Ethiopian athlete. She is world champion, Shankule of Ethiopia. Amane Beriso Shankule, the third quickest athlete in time, in all time, is the fastest in the world this year in Budapest. And there a silver medal for last year's champion, Gebrselassie. A stout defence of her title, just fell one place short. And Gardadi of Morocco. Who could have predicted this? If you had tried to get odds on this, you would have made so much money this morning. But it's not about money, it's about medals. These are forever, these medals. And this from Fatima Ezara Gardadi at the age of 31 in only her third marathon. And it's going to be, funnily enough, almost identical to her two so far. 2:25.03, 2:25.07, and unofficially 2:25.17 in Budapest. Miraculous running there at the top 10. Shankule and Gebrselassie ensuring a 1-2 for Ethiopia, season's best for that pairing. Gardadi, a brilliant bronze for Morocco in third, and that time 2:25.17, only just outside her lifetime best. Lorna Chemtai Salpeta, the best of the Europeans, the Israeli finishing in fourth there. Yahualo making it 3 Ethiopians in the top 5. Wanjiru, the best of the Kenyans, just ahead of Kaptic, her compatriot. Gejeta of Germany, a fine 11th place for her. Epis of Italy, 2:29 in 12th place. And as you can see, the first 14 inside 2 hours 30. Natasha Wodak having a brave run there in 15th place for Canada. And Lisa Waitman, consistent as ever, in 16th place for Australia. Kira D'Amato in 17th place there, behind her compatriot Flanagan, Lindsay Flanagan, who finished in 9th.